All right, I'm back from Philly. I'm tired as hell, but I'm back. I saw a game last night that was pretty damn good. Wasn't what I was expecting, but that's what the league is about. That's why I love covering this league, because you see stuff that's just insanely good that you're not expecting. And I saw two insanely good things last night in Philly. Our man Sam Amick is joining us this week, Marcus, and we got so much to talk about. And who better to talk about the association that we love than our man Sam? Thank you for coming on, SA.
Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, so I know what I thought sitting there watching it. First of all, he scored the fastest 24 points in the first quarter I've ever seen. Like, I thought he had like 12, and I look up and he's got 22. I was like, what? Wait a minute. But he scored so fast. It was like layup, 3-footer, layup, 6-footer, layup. Like, it was so damn fast. What was it like watching it?
So I had to play catch up. I was at Kings Hawks, just a can't miss mid-January affair out in Sacramento. And but it's always fun.
It was pretty good, by the way. It was pretty good. I'm just saying.
Was it? I mean,
so you saw one of DeJounte's last games as a Hawk?
Yeah, DeJounte was working, baby. Listen, he was like, "Get me out of here."
We're gonna get to. I know not to hijack the host duties here, DA. We're gonna get to trade stuff on the back end of the pod. So we'll talk to you. But my teaser is gonna be this: DeJounte Murray talking to Landry Fields pregame. I kept telling Hawks people he is the most like peaceful, serene dude who's on the market I've ever seen. He sees Landry, gives him a hug, and literally tells him like, "Let's go, let's get a W." And he's like eye contact, like ready to go. Like this game really, really mattered. I've never seen a guy who we all know is going to get traded be in such a good place.
Well, that's because he doesn't. I mean,
he doesn't want to be there.
The simple math is mutual. I don't want to be here. Yeah. Get me out of here. Right. You get me out of here. I'm still getting paid. Cool.
Right.
This will be on a better team in 2 weeks.
This is like not thinking about what you might get for Christmas because you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, I'm just gonna act like it ain't here. Right. I want to be. I want all the joy for the moment. You know.
Right.
So I'm doing that thing, and you guys have been there where there's something big happening elsewhere in the association, but you're at a different game. So you actually you're not watching it; you just start hearing through people like, "Dude, Joel got 30 this far into the game," and you getting different updates. But it was funny too because you had Karl-Anthony Towns doing his thing in that disastrous game with Minnesota and Charlotte. So people in that arena were tracking both. When I went back and tried to play catch up and did dig into the highlights. So just super fun to watch, man. He's playing just incredible basketball, and the Wembanyama component. While I know, like you're going to get into DA, Victor looked good. Victor had nothing to be ashamed of.
Very good.
But those highlights, they look like Nerf basketball. It's like Big Brother just bouncing little brother around. And Joel, what I love is this: the Sixers vibe this year. Post James Harden, Nick Nurse comes in. Like, I think deserving some credit for the way that he has not just decided to piggyback on Joel and just kind of ride his coattails. He has absolutely tried to fire him up. He's made sure he knew that Jokic was the best big in the game in training camp. And then he went and did work against Nikola in Denver recently. He, this game, that Joel is looking at young fella saying, okay, I want the best for you, but not in my house. So just fun to watch and to read your column today and get a lot of that historical context, and like you wrote, like the idea that Wilt Chamberlain, hit 76 times is just unbelievable.
He scored 70 points 6 times. That's unbelievable.
And rest in peace. Well, that if he was here, he'd be like, well, Joel, I did it in Philly. So you still don't have the franchise record, even though it was a different organization. But just
also,
incredible stuff.
I imagine it looked just like it did last night.
Yeah.
Where there's one giant guy playing against
just knocking dudes around.
Yeah, like the CYO elite team. You know what I'm saying? Just that dude was like 8 for 12 in the paint in the first 7 minutes.
And I've forgotten. I'm mad at myself. But I had to get home last night. It's a 2-hour drive from Philly to DC. So I was like, let me just go home and finish this when I get home.
What time did you leave, DA? Oh, okay, you wrote
arena?
It home. Yeah,
I started to write. I started to write at the arena. I got about a third of the way done, and I looked, and it was midnight. And I was like, God damn, I got to get home. like, because I don't want to get a hotel. Like, who wants to do that? I didn't bring anything. Like, so I drove home, and I forgot how much Embiid hates Karl-Anthony Towns. I forgot he was because he kept us waiting forever because he was watching the fourth quarter of the Minnesota game. I forgot that was.
Oh, is that right?
So he probably
had
took great
sympathy.
delight in what he was.
You know
like.
what I'm saying? So of course he was watching that, so he could, if he was still tweeting, he'd get a couple tweets off before he met with us. So yeah, it was some theater, man. Because like I said, as great as Embiid was, and he was great. Wembanyama, that dude was nice. Again, he's like the T. What do they call it in the Terminator? He learns at an accelerated rate. He's just like, it's unbelievable how fast he is coming to dominate games now. Like, it's crazy how good he's become in a month. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you could just kind of imagine, you can see it, what he's gonna look like when he's got some like girth to him, right? And we put some muscle on him, like
just KD musculature.
Yeah.
Right?
Nah.
He's
You don't need him
wiry
to be
strong.
Giannis. I mean, if he gets to be Giannis, like that's ball game. You know what I'm saying? Like if he's you can't stand in front of me while I'm coming down, like that's over.
And let's not forget, I mean, Giannis was never as slight as Victor, but he was
slight. He was slight. Yeah,
he was slight. Yes.
Yeah, if he gets the like core strength and base and can hold his ground better with his just skills, like look, everybody, you could tell the NBA players are like, let me get mine in now. You know what I'm saying? Like let me cook this dude now, so maybe later there will be a little bit of intimidation factor because I'm gonna need every ounce of it when this dude is ready. Every ounce of it.
What I love about this kid already, he's not backing down 1 inch from what he wants to be, which is great. He's not trying to be good. He's not trying to be an all-star. He's trying to own this league, man. And I love that, even that kind of, I don't know what I would call it, delusional greatness. But that's what you have to be in this league. You have to be delusional. You have to really think I'm the best MF in this league every night. Otherwise, you get cooked.
You know how many dudes who ain't even close think that?
Right. Right.
Go ahead, Sam.
Who was that picture of? I was blanking on the shot that the other day captured Victor's size so incredibly well, where he's dunking over somebody. I'm hoping you guys can fill in the blanks for me. It was like a 6'9", 6'10" guy. And
maybe it was probably what's his name, Bagley in Washington.
Yes, he's 6'10", 6'10". Yes, and he looked like a child,
right?
That stuff gets you excited for what he could be. DA, when you talk about him wanting to be great, I generally agree. I also have not been around him very much. Like far. What are you seeing? Like, what form does that take? Like, why do you feel confident saying that about him?
Because he doesn't defer. Well, he said something last night that was really, I thought, interesting. Because I wasn't trying to give him an out, but I was just trying to put it in some context. And so I asked him, I said, look, that there's only a couple of guys in the league that can do that to you, right? Like Embiid and Jokic, there's really nobody else. I mean, Giannis can score a lot of points, but not that way. You know what I mean? Like Giannis it's going to be a lot of drives. But it's not going to be just bully ball. I'm just taking you down to the front of the rim and there's nothing you can do about it. And I said, does it make you understand maybe how unique this is? And he went, well, yeah, I get that there's not a lot of great players like that in the league. But I still want to beat this dude. Like, we got to figure out how to beat this dude. Right. If we want to be the best, we got to beat the best. Like full-blown Ric Flair, right? Like, and that to me was just like, and he doesn't say it with bravado. He says it very matter-of-factly. He says everything very matter-of-factly. And so you just knowing the group that he's with and the people that are representing him and the stuff that they've done, dude, he's trying to take it all. He wants everything. He's like my man at the end of The Social Network. I'm not coming back for 30%. You know what I'm saying? Like, like he's trying to be the guy in this league, and I respect that because he's got the game to do that. Like, I don't know if he's going to make it, but he's got a chance to make it, and that's crazy good.
Well, it looks like Joel is also trying to do that, right? Like, he's playing in a way where, perhaps watching Nikola Jokic win a championship, like hit took him to a different level or hit him differently.
Right.
So Sam, as the great analyzer of MVP big men, and you've been down this rabbit hole a few times.
Yep.
Does this look any different to you?
We have been down this rabbit hole.
I mean, does anything look different or feel different about Joel, or is this just
100%.
regular Joel's dominant and it doesn't matter until he does it in the playoffs?
It makes me super happy that you're the guy asking this question, because you and I have had such spirited debates about Joel versus Jokic. And, yes, the answer to your question.
Hey, I was on the side of Jokic, just for the record.
You switched up real quick. It feels different. It feels like it actually gets me excited, because the truth is I voted for Giannis last year. I do regret now. I think I've just officially decided I got to get that thing out of my head that some of us get tripped up by. Like, I was a little bit guilty of the guys who have fallen short in the playoffs. You don't feel as good about voting for them. So like, Giannis was that guy until he wasn't that guy. And then with Joel, so I almost was like giving Giannis an extra, point, so to speak, last year, because I thought it was close. And then he's a champion. Well, him winning a title isn't really supposed to matter in that vote. So I'm just being honest about that.
Right.
But with Joel, inversely, it was a little bit of like, yeah, good year, but I'm so tired of seeing this guy fall short when it matters. So to go from that, where however you slice it, I was not that excited about what he did last year. It was impressive, but it was nothing for me close to this. Before we jumped on, I'm trying to go through his game logs and appreciate what he's doing, and a couple things jumped off the page. He has not scored fewer than 30 points since November 15th, which was
10.
Almost 2 months ago.
It's insane streak.
That's his season.
More than 2 months ago. Sorry, more than 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's the only guy that is Will. That's the only guy that's had a streak this long.
Right. And like that was a Boston game, and they obviously are bringing a lot in the front court, and that was his season low of 20 points. But the other color and context that I was excited to share is like, if you go back to the preseason, I make the choice to go chase the James Harden story in Fort Collins, Sixers training camp out in Colorado. And I still think this story is a little under the radar, man. Like, Nick Nurse made a hell of a choice in camp when he decides, you know what, I'm going to take this team out here in the middle of Colorado, where the altitude is a factor, where the Nuggets are the champions. And in some form, the message was sent very directly to Joel Embiid, and I talked to Nick about this, and he essentially finally copped to it, that like, yes, we're in Colorado so that I can remind Joel and the guys that they are not champions, and that the champions are right down the road. And then it got even more direct and personal during the course of training camp. If you guys remember, they go to dinner with Deion and the Colorado group, and he has Deion Sanders host them for a dinner in Boulder. And at this dinner, and this is video that's online for all to see, because Deion's got his own social media people who chronicle everything. You see Deion talking about how his problem with today's NBA is that guys don't take it personal. Guys don't take the matchups, head on. And he damn near stares right at Joel. And I'm watching that video.
He stared at it. I mean, he all went and put his hand on his shoulder. Like, I'm talking
and my
to
thing
you,
is
buddy.
like, you cannot tell me, and this is speculation, you cannot tell me that Nick Nurse wasn't giving Deion the notes for his speech. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, he slipped him a 50 afterwards. Nice
right.
Job, thank you.
He was like, hey,
guess what?
Deion, there's gonna be like this tall 7 foot big guy. Like, I need you to come for him. Like,
what if he got the wrong guy? What if he didn't know who Joel
I know, right?
was?
It's like just going after Paul Reed.
Comes at Corkmans or somebody like that.
Like, hey, Paul Reed, hey man,
He's like, bro, I'm the waiter.
Tobias,
No
get it
question.
together, bro.
Sam, everything you said is 100% right. I think that Nick is putting it out there. I think Joel, and I believe this. I think starting with the game last year where he scored 47 against Denver, there are certain games he's ticking off now. He's checking off and last night was one of those. Like, not yet, young fella, not yet.
Right.
Right. And so yeah, he certainly is aware of it. And this brings me to the thing I wanted to talk about, and this is just crazy to me, is Joel Embiid, who leads the league in scoring by a ton, who may set the all-time record for per 36. Like, he's about to break Wilt Chamberlain's per 36 record. You know what I'm saying? His usage, he's 38.2 usage rate. He is insanely good this year. May not be the MVP because he may not play 65 games.
Right.
What are we going to do when and if that happens? Like, what am I supposed to do as a voter?
I mean, you don't have a choice.
Right?
You won't get the vote.
Crazy.
It's gonna be like the hot ex at the wedding. Like, well, right? I know I look better than the bride anyway. So like he's just gonna be sitting in the back, like, y'all know I was better. I only played. Yeah, it's gonna. You don't have a choice.
It's 8 games, right? That's what we're down to. He can miss.
Yeah.
He can miss 8 more, or he can miss.
He's missed 11 already, so his max is what, 71. He's missed 11 games already.
Right. Okay.
So his max is 71. So he's got 6 games.
6
of wiggle room.
Jeez.
Like, come on. And he's adamant about I have to be healthy for the playoffs, which I understand. If I'm
Remind me I wish I had this in front of me, guys, but do you remember the details about that? They've got some protections against, the idea that they would put him in for 2 minutes and bring him out. Like, as far as games played, isn't there a minimum for time you got to be out there too?
I'm trying to remember. I think there is, Sam.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me.
Point being, you can't take the gimmicky route. They can't.
Right. You have to actually play in some meaningful number of minutes in a game. But I mean, thing, and this is where it comes down to, like, his thing is, I got to win a championship.
Yeah,
to be serious, to be taken seriously, then he's gonna rest back-to-backs. Like he has to. Like, I mean, I get it.
That becomes like what like we were talking about. Like, did you win in a postseason? Like, I mean, he's gonna have to deal with the reality that he could play 65 games, win MVP, and it's not gonna change anything if he doesn't win in the playoffs, right? So, to me, I'm curious if we're all gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe and feel like Philly's good, they're straight. Look how great Joel is, and you still got Boston and you still got Milwaukee out there, and this is gonna end the same movie as always. Like, does Philly say, "Hey, we got Joel cooking. We need to make a move."
Yeah. Well,
to get this thing to another level.
They're in a different space just because of Maxi's emergence this year. He's so good. He's been so good. But to your point, if they're going to beat Boston, they need another guy. I just think they need another guy because Boston's defense is too good. Milwaukee's vulnerable defensively. They're not that good defensively to me. Certainly not compared to what they were. So if Philly's going to beat Boston and Milwaukee,
we're not doing that.
They need another dude. They need another. Yeah, well,
watch it. I know what you just did there. I saw that.
We ain't hating on Dame, but Dame ain't no lockdown dude. Let's not get it twisted now.
Man, DA's out on a limb there.
Come on now. So that's why I thought Philly would be all in on Siakam.
It's time to play defense. Like, is that what you're doing, Marcus?
Right. It's time for somebody else to play defense.
Hey, y'all play D. I'm about to win this game.
I ain't hating. I love Dame.
But like Terry Rozier ends up getting traded to the Heat.
Right.
So like,
do they stand pat? I think Philly's got to do something. I think they need to make one more move. I don't think they have enough yet. As good as they're playing, I don't think they have enough. Not to beat Boston 4 times.
I don't know who that is.
Milwaukee 4 times.
I don't know who that is.
Well, I thought it was Siakam. I thought that was the play.
Gonna say. Right.
That to me, that was the play. Both from Cameroon, makes sense. Yes, all checks all boxes, yes. But they didn't get it done. Well, if they were trying to get it done,
I think they were waiting until the summer, to be honest.
I think that's what they wanted to do. Yes, but but I think Marcus is right. At some point, them dudes in the locker room are going to look at you like, "Yo, man, like we pretty damn close. We just need somebody to put us over the top and go get me whoever, Kyle Kuzma or whoever. Like bring him in. We need somebody." So, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see what Philly does at the trade deadline. Because I know Daryl. Daryl's patient. He's going to wait it out. He's not going to rush into a deal. But you only get so many shots at this thing, and Joel's not going to play better than he's playing this year. Like I think we all can agree. Like this, there's not another level for him to go to after this. This is it. This is Pete Joel.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. They were gonna, I think, keep their powder dry, and the Pascal thing feels.
You said what?
Keep their powder dry.
What's that?
You never heard that expression?
You never heard of that, Marcus?
No,
He's wait. That's all.
Oh, gunpowder.
Gunpowder.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that like a powder your nose thing? Like, what? What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm dropping cosmetology references over here.
I was so confused, Sam. Like, bro, we've talked about how many hours of our life you've never mentioned this. You're into powder.
I loved it in the chat. We got
maybe it was the other kind of powder, DA.
Yeah, right. I'm not trying to be on this pod and get canceled. That's not what that was. The chat over here, Dave DeFore, saving resources, Marcus. That's how Dave.
I get it. Once Dave put gunpowder in the chat, I was like, okay, I got it.
Right.
But there was some chatter from other teams that the Sixers had their eye on somebody this summer, and that there was kind of a quiet plan. You know what I mean? Like something in the works. And I think if there was, I think it was Siakam, and then when they get to Indy, when Pascal gets there, and immediately, obviously he's getting indications that they're willing to give him the full boat contract wise, because, his camp real quickly went from he's going to be wide open, he's going to be a free agent, to, we love the Pacers.
So we good?
We're good.
It was pretty instant.
Oh, yeah. You ever have stuff that, we're only as good as what we're told at the time. And so I had, like, if anybody wanted to give me a hard time and do a compare and contrast, like, here's what Sam wrote last week, here's what Sam's writing this week. These two things are very different. Well, things change.
No, but I love the Circle Center Mall now.
Yes.
Oh man, they got a steak and shake. Let's go.
Oh, that's all you needed to say.
Oh man, I'm good. I'm straight. Nap City, baby.
Like
Nap
Samuel in Pulp Fiction. That's all you needed to say.
So I don't know who that dude is, but they're good. But Marcus, to your question, yeah, it might the movie might end the same way. We mentioned that the last time Joel had 20 points, it was against Boston. Like they took care of him. So
that's what I need to do. That's what I'm saying. Like they've got the personnel to slow him down, not stop him, slow him down, make him less efficient. That's all.
I got the guy.
Who's the guy?
I got the guy they could get.
Who's the guy?
Hear me out, Sam. Don't judge me initially. Think about it before you react.
All right, I'm ready.
Karl-Anthony Towns.
What a good! It's like radio talent right there. You're just trying to set up a segue.
Theater that I would pay to see that happen.
I mean, it's such great theater that Adam Silver should make them do it. I mean,
should force them to trade.
DA, I hope I'm not putting you in a space you don't want to go. I'm going to try anyway, since I think we're going to talk Cat a little bit. We were talking off air. Like, can you share with us a little bit of the locker room color from last night and how? It's waiting to talk to Joel.
I mean, it's not like it's no secret.
By the way, listeners, I was late, so this is news to me too.
I was angry with myself. I was angry with myself when I finished the column and when I sent it in, because I forgot to write. Part of the reason why everything was so late last night and we waited an hour for Embiid postgame was because he was in the locker room watching the Wolves game, watching the end of the Timberwolves game, and his arch nemesis, Karl-Anthony Towns. And so I think he took some pleasure in the fact that Karl scored 62 in a loss. You know what I mean? And he scored 70 in a win.
And it was it wasn't just 62 in a loss either. It was like 44 in the first half. I'm feeling it. But we're only up by like 6. And second half, good third quarter, but fourth quarter,
Well, somebody mentioned it last night while we were waiting. Somebody was looking at the stats and they were like, wait a minute. Karl-Anthony Towns has 60 points and his plus minus is 2.
Oh,
Yeah, it was you know,
Like,
because
oh God.
it was the thing. I've watched this happen many times. Say, have you seen it too, where the one guy gets hot? Because like when Klay Thompson gets hot, like that's what the Warriors do. The entire offense is thrown out the window and it becomes get that guy the ball, get him the ball, right? But usually when that happens, you're probably up by big, 25 points, whatever. Like they were like, blow for blow with with LaMelo and them, and
Charlotte.
they couldn't shake him. They couldn't shake him. So the entire second half was like, even Ed Edwards, who like will be MVP one day, is deferring, and it became the Karl-Anthony Towns show. And I don't know that he gave it up to one player, but he gave up 62 on the other end. So it was just like, yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, Chris Finch, I've never seen a coach so mad at a career high from a player.
Irate.
Like that dude
was
so
so
it was,
angry.
It was, I mean, that
so
dude
angry.
took the mic and was talking crazy about his own team after the guy scored a career high. I've never seen
what did
that.
he say?
Right?
It was embarrassing. What did he say?
He said, yeah, that's what he
Embarrassing, selfish play.
like.
You know
what I'm saying? They in there signing the ball for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Not
Like,
what we
it's
deserve.
a historic game. And the coach is in the podium room like, this was awful.
It'd be great if Finch went and gave the game ball to Charlotte just to prove a point.
I know, right?
Absolutely disgusting performance of defense and immature basketball. Chris Finch.
I mean, it really did devolve into like some Rucker Park scene, except it wasn't that good. Like it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's you can feel it when a dude is hot. It's like the other team is like, that's it, it's over.
Yeah,
they were nah. I mean, literally, they were like, nah. PJ Washington was like,
Charlotte. This is Charlotte. This isn't the. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it was
Charlotte
wild.
in your spot is going, no, we good. Keep scoring. We good.
Guys, what happened at the end? I need clarity on, because I don't want to get it wrong. Like, didn't some version of Towns getting benched happen at the end?
He got benched.
Yeah, he got pulled. Yeah, he got pulled for defense.
For defense.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Ain't y'all got the #1 defensive rating in the league with Karl-Anthony Towns? Like,
right.
Huh?
But it does bring up. I mean, this obviously is like a fluke situation. But one of the amazing things about the Timberwolves, right, because they're really good, it's like Naz Reid, it's like really good player who finds himself on the bench at the end of games. Like, how many teams will just be like, yo, Naz, I got 30 a year for you right now. Right. And he literally, he shoots threes, he blocks shot, like he's really good. And at the end of the game, just like, all right, bro, that was a great 3/4. That was a great 36. That was your per 36 is fire. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, this guy.
He just needs to go to the Athletic and let his truth out.
You know what I'm saying? That's it. Come on, hey, Nas. Come on, Nas.
He needs to go to John. He needs to go to Krasinski and say, yo, man, this is some bullshit.
It's right. It's one of those things where, like, in the playoffs, it's probably going to be really impactful. It's going to be really helpful, right? I mean, to think you could bring Naz Reid, like, as your backup big. Behind like Cat and Gobert. But it's like, yo, there's a lot of managing that has to happen before that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just interesting watching them like juggle this. And I do feel like Finch, like letting them know, like, hey, this ain't cool.
Right.
It's part of that. Like, man, this dude is out here. And they were feeding them, but at some point it just became a circus. And it was like, yo, what are we doing actually right now? It was just wild to watch. And Mike Conley, very important point, Mike Conley did not play. He was on the side.
So they were not organized.
Yeah, he was on the side and some like looking like a 25-year-old on the side and like painted jeans and all that. I'm like, yo, Mike Conley, you should be tucking your shirt in, youngster. Oh, you're OG now. Like, what you doing, man? Put a tie on, bro.
The suit, right? Man, no, that was crazy. That was crazy watching that. I don't know.
Sorry, Diego, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sam.
I do wonder, like, nobody beats Mr. Krasinski's perspective, but I've been around the Timberwolves a decent amount this year. And so to unpack the whole thing a little more, I do wonder, Finch to this point, and I wrote this in a roundtable we did yesterday. Like, I think his coach of the year case is largely rooted in his ability to navigate a pretty tricky locker room when you have a bunch of guys who the outside world has been telling you that you're on two different tracks and that some of you are disposable, and typically that that kind of fosters negativity and divisiveness, and they've had a good vibe and a good culture. So now you look at a game like last night where Karl, who to this point has been getting rave reviews from everybody in Minnesota for his willingness to do some of the little things, to take a back seat, to not be in his feelings too much, and to put the ego on the side. So here he's got this night that in a perfect world, he gets one night to cook, to be celebrated. They get the W.
Night.
Yeah.
One night only. One night.
But instead, because he falls short, like, he gets to see the other side of his coach, which is just like, dude, this is not what we're doing. And now you're going to get killed. I mean, we're on here talking tough about him. And that's the type of thing that I have wondered for a while, like, how long can they keep this kumbaya thing going, given the state of the roster?
It's a good question. I think, well, I mean, as long as they keep winning, I think they'll be all right. But they got to keep winning, and that's even though the West is somewhat, I think, diluted this year, it's not nearly as good, top to bottom as it's been in previous years. I still think it's really hard to win a lot of games in the Western Conference. Even though Golden State's mediocre and the Lakers are mediocre, they still got dudes on their team that can go get 50.
Like, you gotta beat them. Yeah, you gotta beat them.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not like you ain't just gonna walk in the Chase Center and beat the Warriors by 30. You know what I mean?
Unless you're the Raptors, then you might. Some mediocre Eastern Conference team, you're right? Good. But yeah.
I still can't believe Charlotte went in them and gave them the business in their spot. You know what I mean? That's crazy to me. That's like the Wizards going in and kicking somebody good's ass. Like
that's how it's going down. There is a. I really want Minnesota to kind of keep it together. They've been keeping it together. I mean, I just remember last year all we talked about was how Rudy and Cat didn't fit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and now, like,
you just want to see the price tag. You want to see A-Rod and Mark Lore have to, pay that freight a couple years down the road.
Yep.
Man, I'm telling you, Minnesota will be the next hub of NBA's like success. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the spot. California, New York, way too expensive, man.
Minnesota in the springtime is fantastic.
Unbelievable.
It's great.
Unbelievable.
It's great. Not good. Great.
People sleep on it. People sleep on it. And I'm with it. So Sam, I gotta ask you about your home base.
But Kings. What they gonna do?
Yeah.
They need to make a move, man.
They definitely bounced back last night against the Hawks, but they've hit that patch. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've hit that patch where it's kind of very clear. Like, if they want to get over the hump, they've got to do something, right? I mean, they're a good team, but if it just feels like something is needed. I can almost sense it in Mike Brown, where he's like, "This ain't enough, man. This ain't enough. I need a little bit more."
I hear you. I don't know what they're going to do. The vibes are off. That's the way I'll put it. Like, they're not great. I think some of the guys, Kevin Huerter comes to mind. Harrison Barnes comes to mind. We know them with Davion Mitchell are widely known to be available. I think if you go back to last season and they were this Cinderella team and they break the playoff drought and they're, the energy in the city was so incredible. And really for local Kings audience, like, that is a team that will probably to some degree be forever celebrated because they kind of ended the drought. But then fast forward to this year, and the reality is, with Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox in the front office and Mike Brown and the way he's wired, they didn't have any intentions of just kind of running it back and just trying to have fun with the same squad. And so then you see, and this happened early, Kevin Huerter was falling out of the rotation early on. And I felt like he became the poster boy for, like, this player who was, I think, personally so fulfilled by what they all accomplished last year, and then had a connection with the fans. And I think in a guy like that's mine, like, he found a spot for a while. And then it's like, you have a bad start to the season. Now, Yeah, and you quickly learn
Right.
like, oh no, it's actually Fox, Sabonis, and Keegan Murray, and everybody else is on the table.
Everybody else is expendable. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you see stuff, it's been a weird time. So like, and you never know, I don't want to connect dots that don't exist, but like the tension and the energy is strange right now. You might have seen in the news this morning, and it was honestly a little slow to come to light. Like De'Aaron Fox has not spoken to the media for he went 16 days without talking to the media.
What?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it was
Why?
one of that's the part that I mean, I do have a decent amount of clarity on it. I'm probably not going to share everything publicly, but it's like it's a weird one where he got criticized after they lost to New Orleans, and at one point they were down 50 in a home game a couple weeks back.
Yes, remember that. Yep.
And it got highlighted, and Mike Brown was asked essentially why in these one-sided blowout losses is your leadership council, which he's talked before about who that is. It's, I think, Fox and Sabonis. I forget who all is in it, but it's a small group of guys. So the question was basically, why don't these guys talk after blowout losses? They had Keon Ellis up at the podium. To me, it's a fair question, but I think in the wake of that, De'Aaron was upset with the way that he took some criticism there. It was reported in the Sacramento Bee today that night that he had actually not been asked to talk. He had a bad game and they were trying to give him a night off, I believe. And it's a bad set of circumstances to where he just went dark. And so that's its own thing. But then you have, in a little speculation here, but like Harrison Barnes is not talking much. And it feels very much like, he's a grown man who's aware that he's on the block and doesn't feel like
he's been through this before. Yeah.
Right. I know how this ends. Right.
Right.
Yep.
So it's like, there's a lot of that. It's the anti DeJounte Murray vibe, if you will. These guys are not taking it as well, I don't think. And everybody's playing the waiting game. So I don't know what they'll do, lately. And some of this is out there. This is in your neck of the woods, DA, some Kyle Kuzma chatter.
Yep.
That I think could be real. I think a Jeremy Grant kind of aspiration that Portland probably is not going to cooperate with. But they're aggressive, and I think they know they got to do something.
I would say it's going to be very costly to get Kyle Kuzma not because of his stature. Nobody is under the illusion that he's a, all NBA level player, but he's the best player the Wizards have. So, so they're going to ask for a lot for him. And rightly so, because they can lose with him, they can lose without him. So if they're going to lose without him, they need to get something really good for him. And I think it will have to be more. That's all right. It will have to be more than probably what Toronto got for Siakam. Let's put it that way. That's not going to get it done. So we'll see. We'll see. No, I never say never, but we'll see. But we did have a trade, or we're about to have a trade in the NBA. The Miami's sending Lowry to Charlotte for Terry Rozier. I think that's a good deal for
Miami. Rozier and a pick. And a first round pick. Terry Rozier's pulling a first round pick.
You know what though? I've always thought Terry was a really good third guard. So I think he will fit in perfectly in Miami.
You know what Terry is to me? Terry is that dude. He's gonna be 65 years old. And he's gonna show up at a court somewhere. And it's gonna be kids walking around, and he's gonna hit 35 in a row, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, who are you?"
Right, right.
That's Terry.
Tell us your story.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, who is this guy? I mean, insane bucket. Like, they won't have heard of him. It won't be like Kyrie and them, Steph, but it's gonna be like, he's gonna be like, the NBA is full of ballers. Come get some of this youngsters. There's gonna be a bunch of 15-year-olds, and he will not miss.
That's always dudes like him, Jamal Crawford, that will be, like you said, Marcus, 50 years old and getting buckets out there. Like, just
how do you guys feel about let's talk Miami real quick. Like, after a summer where they had such a tough time, they played, they kept their cards close to the vest with Dame when he wanted to be there, and they just didn't get in the game to the degree they needed to get that done. And it felt like they were just missing left and right. They lose a couple core guys. Terry's a good player. I think he helps. He's a guy that the Lakers had their eyes on. I think takes a guy off the table for them. But what do you think this does for the Heat?
Like I said, I think he's really good. I think he really helps them offensively.
he's
They
really
are
good.
bad offensively right now. And this guy puts the ball in the basket, and he does it can do it at a very efficient rate. And the way they play, he's not I wouldn't say he's a terrible defender, but he's certainly not a great defender by any stretch. I think he'll be fine there.
Spo could work with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, Spo's
So
work with less.
Yes. So he's a good, solid veteran guy. I've always, since he was in Boston and was doing work at a very young age in Boston in the playoffs, you knew this guy ain't afraid. He ain't afraid of the moment now. He's not knuckling up and short shots coming up short and whatnot.
Scary Terry.
Yeah, no. This dude will
the
go get it.
is because people scared of him.
Scaring people.
Yeah.
So no, I think he'll help them for sure. And I think it's a good deal. Charlotte gets the first out of it. Good. That's where are they going? They need to do exactly what they just did. Flip a vet for a first. That's the marching order for a bad team. And that's job well done by the Hornets.
I do think Jimmy Butler needs like that. He needs what Terry Rozier, because there will be games where Terry Rozier is just like, hey man, get me the rock. I got 30 for you. Like, I got this. And the way Miami's offenses work, Tyler Hero can give you some of that, but just not against any defense. Where Rozier could get one of them zones where there's nothing anybody can do. Like, he's coming off screens and he's firing and it's bucket. Like, he can take over a game. And to me, and I don't even know, it feels like Jimmy is not that automatic with it anymore, right? Like, Jimmy struggles to just say, all right, I got this game. Like, if he's feeling the moment, if he's into it, maybe, preservation for the playoffs, but he just needs somebody else who, if he's having one of those 4 for 12 nights, like, you're still in the game because this other dude is getting buckets and creating shots, and there's an offensive attack. Like, Duncan Robinson needs that. These players who are kind of relying on somebody to create shots, they need that. I think it's great. And if he could at all buy into the defensive end, and he's a little older now. Back in his Boston days, he was a pretty good like on ball pressure type guard.
Mm-hmm.
If he's got anything left from that end, I don't know, Sam, because Charlotte ain't playing no defense.
Well, I mean, I keep bringing it back to DeJounte Murray. Like, bad teams do not inspire good defense from good players. Yeah. So DeJounte is causing other teams to have to do their homework right now and try to figure out why is DeJounte Murray not defending like DeJounte Murray. Terry's I was looking at the age because I kind of forgot how old he was. Terry's 29. But yeah, if he's got some of that left, that would be good, and what was he coming in at? Let's see. He's 23.2 points this year. Yeah. I mean, and the Jimmy stuff, Marcus, that you mentioned, Jimmy, he might still have it to go take over a game. I think he probably does, but he's just such a reluctant superstar that he's that guy that he waits damn near till the conference finals to
you're right. Like, all right, let's go now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I think there will be more trades. So obviously there'll be more trades.
I got an interesting topic for you, DA, when you're ready.
Yes. I was going to say, of the teams that we all kind of think are going to be in the trading business, right? Like, we think the Lakers are going to do something. We think the Kings are going to do something. We think the Warriors are probably going to do something, right? Like, who gets something done? Who actually is going to get something done?
I feel I'm trying to make sure I don't, it's going to sound funny, like react too much to our own coverage. Cause in the media, we sometimes get like locked in on certain storylines. Yeah. But last night I was trying to vet some of that with people. It was a good night at the Kings Arena in terms of like, sometimes you go to a game and there's not a lot of front office people. There's not a lot of scouts. Right. It was a good crowd last night. So I enjoyed making the rounds. And the question I was trying to bounce off people was specifically DeJounte with the Lakers. Like, is this us just trying to like have that existential question of who's going to help LeBron that we've been asking for 20 years? Or is it like DeJounte is actually going to be in a Lakers jersey? These are people who are in the know, but don't truly know. Obviously, nobody does yet. Yeah. It feels like that has got just very real legs to it. And our Shams Charania has reported that the offers have gone back and forth. There was some chatter that the Hawks, ideally would love to get their hands on Austin Reeves. That's not going to happen. Right. So it's a question of like, how long does Landry Fields hold out? But it feels like the Lakers have separated themselves from the DeJounte pack, and it feels like to some degree they've locked in on him as a guy that they think can help them.
How do they get it done if they're not going to put Reeves in the deal? Like who? I can't.
Are you watching D'Angelo Russell lately?
Well, I'm just saying, like.
But what is he? He doesn't help the Hawks, though.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, but who wants D'Angelo?
You got to
Russell?
put him
All
somewhere.
due respect.
Yeah. 13. Yeah, 13. D'Angelo's like, hey man, let me show y'all still got buckets. San Antonio could use him.
That's interesting.
That's like somebody was saying, well, who? I don't think it was Shams. So I don't think this is friendly fire. Did somebody say that San Antonio was interested in Trae Young? What are you, nuts?
I don't know, but that's not too far off. What about and again, I haven't heard this, and like you said, we don't do friendly fire in the industry, but like when our guy Chris Haynes had put out that DeJounte Murray was the Bucks were in the mix for DeJounte, I'm looking at that going, what, they trading Dame? Like what are we doing there? But
no, I mean, just knowing what San Antonio, how they view their team and what they think the next thing is that they need to go get, it's the exact opposite of Trae Young. So,
right.
like I just okay. I mean, I suppose
but
anything's possible.
for the development, I get it from the sense that the development of Wemby, he needs a point guard. And Jeremy,
but what he needs is a very different.
No question. But you're like, yo, put him with a baller point guard, and
right.
Now, I agree. I don't know if Trae is that. But D'Angelo Russell, let me make my case for D'Angelo Russell.
Okay, make your case. Go ahead.
I don't have a case.
I mean, you never made your case. You had Cat on the Sixers. You got D'Angelo on the Spurs. Mister, once the Warriors start falling apart, Marcus is just putting people everywhere.
Just throwing everybody.
Speaking of the Warriors, I wanted y'all to chime in on this and give me your thoughts. Like, obviously, the death of Decky just completely buckled the franchise.
I watched that tape. That
tape
dude. I'm crying at the end. They did that for 4 minutes chanting dude's name.
Unbelievable. It was like I know people are all like, oh man, European fans or American fans are kind of like, and all of it's usually like, soccer stuff, right? And it's like, I mean, I feel y'all, they hype, but they ain't even paying attention. They singing the whole time. Like,
right.
I'm not buying that, right? This was like, this was wild. But like Steve Kerr talked yesterday, and it's very clear he's still shaken up by it, right?
Yeah.
And so many on the team they've like Sam, they've said, okay, this person's gonna talk, and then it's like, we can't do it. This happened a couple times, right? We can't do it. We can't do it. It's supposed to happen Sunday. Dunleavy was supposed to talk in Utah, but everybody's just kind of broken by it that they're just not ready. And they're starting to resume. I know Mike Dunleavy is out scouting. They're obviously starting to practice again. But I'm curious, what do other teams do? Like, if you've been talking to the Warriors about something and then this happens, do you move on if you're another team? Do you know what I'm saying? Like how does that work? Because everybody feels it. Like, everybody knows what they're going through, but also I can't imagine they've been working the phones through this, right? So like, how does that work? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how, that's y'all big time in this thing. I'm just a little local Bay Area writer. So how do you think that works?
I'm sorry, I got caught up with your last ridiculous statement.
Right.
I would say, I mean, honestly, DA, I don't know how you see it. It's a little bit analogous to like even my own dealings with Warriors people, where I think it's pretty straightforward. It's acknowledging the loss and putting the ball in their court to say, let us know how, if you want to revisit this or that. I mean, I think there's probably a way of doing business, but you just make sure that you show respect and allow them the space that, that they control the conversation. It does feel from connecting with their group a little bit recently, like those wheels are slowly in motion in terms of getting back to doing the work, scouring the league, looking at options. They know that the clock keeps ticking, and I think they're doing some of that. But it's tough. I had one person, I'm curious, Marcus, how you see this, kind of bring up, and they certainly can't speak for the whole group, but they brought up a pretty interesting idea, which is that, and it's a little deep, to be honest, this is not the type of roster debate, trade season talk we will ever have. And the point was this, that Decky, who I wish I knew, and I just, one of those things, I'm around a lot, I didn't connect with him, and I feel like now I've learned so much about him and admire the legacy he left, but that he was such a joyful guy and such a never complained guy, and such a guy who brought something good to the table every single day that he came to work, and loved his job, and really had like a gratitude about him, that there's, and this could be short-lived, but there is a sense with some of the Warriors people that, is there a lesson there? Like, is it like, hey, how about we stop bitching about all the things around the edges that maybe don't matter that much, and maybe we show a little more toughness and settle in and get this thing done for the most part with who we have. It was almost an idea that they lean into the core again, almost in his honor, like, we can do this, and we can stop sweating the small stuff, if you will. Now, again, that's not a universal belief, but some people seem to feel that way, and it does, I think, make for a pretty interesting couple of weeks when it comes to the decisions they have to make.
Go ahead, DA.
No, shit, Marcus, you know him better than I do. I mean, that's an interesting. Well, I mean, I do think they'll be respectful and give them all the time they need. There's certainly no rush. We're 2 weeks from.
I don't know. Do you give them all the time you need when somebody else got to deal with?
I think so. A few days, it's not going to hurt nobody. So,
like, hey man, I'm waiting on this counter. How long do I wait? Mike D, how long do I wait?
I think they understand that the business of the NBA goes on, and if they wind up not getting something done because of it, then they just miss out this time.
Sam, I judge like one of my first tales about what type of people somebody is, right? Is just whether, if you see another human, do you speak? Right? Like, it's a very small thing, but it's like you just, it doesn't define somebody, but it's the first, to me, it's the first, like, okay, like if I gotta say hi, right, to get you to like turn around and speak back, it's like, okay, now I'm dealing with Decky. Always, like, he wouldn't walk by a person and not be like, hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, he wouldn't lock eyes with you and not speak. Like, that's the kind of, like, always present. Like, you could tell he's one of those dudes, like, I don't know what he's been through, I don't know his life, but he seemed like a guy who been through stuff in life and appreciates like everything he had. Like, hey man, I see a person right there, I'm gonna speak. That's the thing that always hits me. He's one of those guys, don't walk by you without giving you something. Like, even the old black man head, you know what I'm saying? Hey, like he even got the old Serbian OG,
Serbian style.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like, I like that. Like, to me, that tells, that's my first sign of whether or not how I approach somebody, like what I might be dealing with. Like, yo, do you just say hello to another human in front of you? Like, losing that type of guy, like it's rocking them. And the crazy part is the ripple effect is what is still going to happen. So, for instance, like Bruce Frazier, Chris DeMarco, they were really close with Decky.
Yeah,
and they, like, Chris DeMarco works for Klay Thompson, so now Chris DeMarco is like, suffering and grieving, and how does that impact Klay, who has his own relationship, but now his routine is off, right? And these dudes are creatures of habit, right? Like, so there's so many layers to this. It's so like complicated. Not to mention that, like, many of them saw it, which is really adding to it. Yeah. Like, I just wonder how it's the real trauma. It's watching it. Yeah, it's watching it.
It was at a dinner. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen in the league. You don't have these things happen at dinners and things like that, or in the building. It's very rare. That's why it's so traumatic.
I was gonna say, like, DA, you've seen more and done more than us. Like, what's the closest comp that you have
I was trying to think of something the last few days, if I could think of anything that happened to a team, in the midst of a season. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something. And when we're done, I will remember it. It's very hard to remember anybody being rocked like this. I mean, there's one thing that I really do not want to share on air right now because it's I suspect it's still very traumatic still, but it was in the off season. It wasn't in the season. And so I just it's hard to kind of I can't think of anything. I mean, I just can't think of anything like this that happened in the middle of a season at a team event, where there was, I mean, I remember when Tom Gugliotta had a very bad allergic reaction to something he took, to some supplement he took, and had a seizure in front of, at a team function or at the hotel or something, if I remember correctly. But he recovered, he took him to the hospital and he got better, so that's
that in that vein, Bobby Hurley comes to mind, I mean,
that's a good one. Yes.
You know who came to mind, DA, and I wasn't there, but Reggie Lewis. Wasn't that at a practice?
That was during the off. He died in the off season again.
I mean, Hank Gathers.
But the original collapse was in the playoff game. I was there. I covered that game. When he fell, the first time he collapsed was on the court in the middle of a game. But again, he went to the hospital. They said, okay, he had this thing, but he's better now. He'll be fine. So.
Hank Gathers.
Yeah, Hank Gathers. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean,
it's a lot, guys. I mean, I've talked to some people about this, like team dinners. It's about as intimate as it gets.
Yes. Because that's real bonding.
That's
where the real bonding happens.
Well, you're in Salt Lake City, and so it's a slow city where you basically set up a space.
Great call. Yes, Dave Dufour, you're right. Bobby Phils, that was in season. That's right. That's exactly right.
They ran out of room so that guys could, if they want to come through, then come through. Players could come through, and coaches are there. So yeah, that whole energy and that idea that you're trying to connect and to have guys see it is brutal. I mean, I certainly assume and hope that there's a fair amount of counseling going on and available to them, because from a trauma standpoint, that's a lot.
And it's fun. It's telling that Dave brought up Bobby Phils. They did a piece. I remember going down there a couple of days later, and they were shattered. They were shattered as a team. And I don't think David Wesley ever really recovered from that. I don't think he did. And
this stuff takes out people. Like, it takes out people's lives. You know what I'm saying?
They were a good team. They were a good basketball team. And it's it's shattering, obviously, because it's a young person. I mean, Decky was 46. That's a young person, that's not a, so it's, I mean, it's dealing with unexpected death at any level for anybody is incredibly difficult. To do it, in a public life like that, like they live, is just, I can't even imagine how you do that. I don't know how you do that.
And for my sake of my memory, Bobby Phils was car accident, right?
Yeah. They were racing.
I was reminding myself here, looking it up. He was behind David Wesley.
Now I remember that. Yeah.
They were racing, and and they had just left practice, so it was literally a mile from the practice facility.
Actually, this time of year, it was January 12th, 2000.
Yeah. It's a good call, because I was at ESPN then and remember going down there and just seeing shattered people, because Bobby was like the best dude in the world, like the best person you could be around. Just a good dude. He played hard. He's a really good defensive player, and was just starting to kind of figure out, how do I score enough points to stay on the floor? He was figuring that out. He was in the process of figuring that out and becoming a really solid guard in the NBA. And so, that's a good call. So I hope the Warriors, I wish them the best on this, because it's they've been through a lot, but nobody knows how to deal with this. There's no handbook on this. So, you wish them well as they kind of think about going forward and what they need to do. But yes, Hurley is another good call in terms of in season. having to deal with something totally unexpected. So we wish them all the best. I think, well, gosh, we've been talking for an hour, guys. Can you believe that? Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Sam Amick makes it feel like 15 minutes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we won't do the kitschy end this week because we're talking about some serious stuff, Marcus. And so we thank Sam for coming on. Y'all watch. Hope y'all enjoyed. And we will be back next week. We have a special guest next week, Marcus, somebody that people will follow this podcast will know very well. We're excited about that. Sam, thank you for coming on, my man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.